Hey folks, so we finally got a little bit of rain. We've got a little bit of rain day before yesterday. Not much, like 15 minutes maybe of a little sprinkling. But then yesterday we got a decent amount on and off. It was pretty nice. It wasn't, nothing that was going to resolve a whole lot of issues, but enough to really nicely settle the dust, and there were no puddles formed from it. But I knew the ground was going to soak it up real fast. Well, then today they had pulled all the chance of rain. They just kept, it had been like chance of rain Wednesday through Monday, and we got a little bit Friday, a decent little bit there Saturday, and then today they had completely pulled all the chance of rain, but we've already had 2 showers today. And they're maybe 20-30 minute showers, but the second one was a little light. This one we just got done having was pretty stout. It was nice. I got soaked. And from the little chunks of showers we've got the last couple days, we actually have a couple of puddles formed. Now we'll see if they stay for very long, because like I said, it just got done. I'm nice and wet. But I also just got done with chores. So with it on and off raining like that this morning, I kept just hoping it'd do some stuff. It did. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about with this amount of rain we've got and the level of drought that we've been in. So Greene County is what is being listed right now and as with most of Missouri, to be honest, especially southern Missouri. Southern Missouri is real bad with it. We're being listed as D3, almost D4 level drought, which is bad. It's out of 4. So, in the drought scale for our area. So, and I hadn't even heard of this. I was watching the video that Living Traditions Homestead just put out, and they had mentioned it. And I knew we were in a bad drought. What I didn't realize, and I couldn't find a good scale for what level of drought we were in. And he'd mentioned that they over in, I think they're just over in Ava, so they're not that far from us, like an hour, maybe 40 minutes or so. And God, just looking at their farm just honestly kind of broke my heart at how dry it was for them right there. And I knew we'd been just as dry. We haven't got any rain either up till then, except a misting that it didn't even settle the dust in that 7.5 weeks. So it wasn't enough to matter, because it was still dusty everywhere. So therefore it didn't do anything, but it was a nice dew, I guess, once in 7.5 weeks. But looking at how dry their fields are, it was just sad. Sad to see, really bad. And I look around at my neighbor's field here, and theirs is a little better. They've still got a little bit of green, so I know that a lot of what we're seeing with our fields being green isn't just because of our management. I think a lot of it is because their fields they mow a lot of their fields, but a lot of their fields, while they're fairly brown, they're not as brown as they are over there. And I know that some of that is because we're in a little bit of a bowl kind of right around us. I don't know, if I drive down the road, I can see a little bit more of like what Living Traditions is. It looks like a lot of their farm. And if you guys haven't seen this video, I'll tag you guys in it. You can let me know a little bit better your topography. It looks like you guys are a little bit higher up elevation, and I know out there towards Ava, you guys have a lot more of that rocky hillside stuff than we've got here just north of Springfield. But that would drain the moisture a lot more than we've got, and we'll collect a little bit more moisture. So when it poured, this spring we got actually above average rainfall. I think it was like 4 or 5 inches above average for the time of year and everything. So we're actually going into this with a lot more rainfall, and then going drastically below rainfall in our area. And I know a lot of the rest of the country is facing these drought issues, but to just to further that, this has really shown me why we do what we do. Really supported that we put so much effort into our rotational grazing and into our laying down straw where I can, dumping leaves out here in the field, making biochar and spreading it, because some of this green up may be from that little bit of rain, but I know not all of it is from that. Because as you look back at a few of our other videos taken over the last couple weeks, you can see that we still have a lot of green. And that's a lot of green with 7.5 weeks of no rain. And I said we got a ton of rain this spring, and we work really hard to try to trap that. We've got a lot of these little valley kind of things through here, and I'll lay brush on contour in them to trap moisture, which in the spring makes for everything really muddy. But I know that it's soaking down as far as it'll go, which we have a clay hard pan on our farm about 30-ish inches down. So none of my posts that I dig go deeper than that 30 inches, because I once busted through that hard pan and it's like 8-9 inches of solid solidified clay, and that's not worth it for a post. 30 inches is more than enough. So yeah, trying to puzzle where I was at with that. I think I'll just show you what our fields look like right now. Show you some of this green that I know if we had been managing some things the way we could have and the way we did when we first started with just the electric fence as our dividers and not really making sure that that was an effective boundary. You can do that, but I'm not real great at weed eating off the fences, as we've seen in previous videos. So doing that woven wire with the electric offset is really the only thing that has worked for me to effectively manage my rotational grazing strategies. You can see how green it still is out here and how tall our grass still is, because we don't clip. We don't cut any of it for hay. Once in a blue moon, I'll come out here with a scythe and knock an area down if I think it needs it, or if I've got something I don't really want taking over that area. But not that often. More often than not, I just let the weeds kind of do what they're doing, because obviously that section of ground needs something. You know, it's pulling up some type of mineral that when that plant does die down, it'll drop. If I do cut down an area that I don't really want that kind of plant growing there, like we had some sumpweed issues one year, then I do it right before it drops to seed. That way it can't really put the new set of seed in the ground. And I've got some Jimson weed. I'll go ahead and remove that because that can be really toxic to the pigs. I'll let it go up until before it's going to do seed, and then I'll cut it down and let it be that big biomass that has sequestered all those different minerals from low down up high. Yeah, let's look at some grass. So you can see the dry seed head tops. This was that paddock. There's actually a walk not long ago on our channel of us having pigs in here. And you remember they laid it all down. But you can see, and I know it's always hard to see with a camera, but that's all nice green grass. And it did not just green up and grow from within. This is sumpweed. And then some pondweed. I forget the actual name for it, but painted lady's finger maybe. It's a type of pondweed. And you can see all of this green that's coming up from where they knocked the grass over, you know, and laid it down, and that protected that soil. And now with this rain, it won't be able to bake out as easy, because essentially I've got applied, right, inches of mulch to my soil. So all that stuff that the pigs knocked down when they were in here this spring has acted like, and you can still see it cracked. The ground has cracked, and it was cracking pretty bad in areas that were bare. But all of this ground over it, you can see all those seeds there too. All of this over the top kept it from pulling as much moisture and baking it down. If this was short trimmed grass, like some of our neighbors' hay fields and stuff, it would have been, oh gosh, which I do appreciate. You can see that, see how green that is compared to our neighbors. And now our neighbors, they did mow that for hay. And they actually waited a while. I think that's why it's as green as it is, compared to, like, you can kind of see how brown a lot of that is out there. Still somewhat green. A little haze of green starting to come back up. And this is actually the lower area where the water leaves our property and goes through there. And that kind of gives you an idea of that haze of green and why that's there, hence the bald cypress tree there. Why they planted that there. You can just see how much green is still out here. I mean, and I know I have lost a lot of trees. Not these trees were planted the year before. So all but one or two of them has made it and done really nice. These are our Corcus prenoidus dwarf chestnut oak, which actually looks like it has some kind of pest, maybe, underneath the bark. That's really interesting. I've never seen that before. I have to look into that. But just funsies here. They're actually putting out acorns. and they're like less than 3 years old. Somewhere right around. They were put in last year as 1-year-olds, so this is their 3rd season. But yeah, I mean, you can just see so much grass out here. And this is the paddock that we also, this is our only paddock we have applied biochar in. And I know that that's probably, we've put out, I think we were at, I'm trying to look back at my numbers. I'll just look it up because I know I've got it wrote down somewhere. I'll look it up and then pop in here. And you can see some of it. This is a piece of non-fully pyralized, hence why it's still a big stick. Get it to break here with one hand. Yeah, you see how it's still wood in there? So even with the non-pyralized stuff, I'll throw some of the non-pyralized back in another pile to burn on the next burn. But some of it, I just go ahead and throw out and put it out in the field, and I'll let it do its thing. Because what is pyralized will never break down, or at least not for thousands of years. And the non-pyralized will, and it'll act as just food for the soil microbiome, right? Which is our goals. We can go over to this other one here that had gotten a fairly decent beating. I mean, all these did. You can see, oh shit, just slid in the mud. Sorry, I'll try to cut out the S word there. You can see, dog not where she's supposed to be. You can see even where these guys have been stuck this whole time, because when I throw them over into that other paddock, they just swim back across the pond. That fix did not work. You can still see how great that is. That's still green. There's the tops they've been knocking down. That's hot, so I don't want to just let the gate swing open here. We're gonna hang it over that. But how tall, this is all crabgrass that came up. There's some of that sheen and green we talked about in the spring that I was like, I think I'm just gonna leave it and not seed it and see what comes up. And it was mostly crabgrass. A few other things. There's one of those Jimson weed plants I was talking about that I'll let it go till right before it seeds. The flowers are beautiful. Yeah. And the pigs that come out of here maybe 1 to 2 weeks ago, so there's still some things that poop. Where it was real dry, I noticed the dung beetles weren't as effective. So this is one probably right before they left, but you can see this one here. Now that it's getting wet again, I bet they'll, yeah, there goes a little dung beetle. He just ran away. These are the dwellers I had been talking about. There's one. There's a bunch of them. And I know this is gross. I'm going to pick it up. Here we go. If you can see them again. Sorry, I know this is really hard for you guys to see, but it's really hard for me with the glare to see. Oh, there's one moving around in my hand. There he goes. Yeah, now I can feel some under my fingers. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So these are those dweller dung beetles working to shred these piles to pieces. Now that the dung is wet again, because that's where they get all their nutrition from. Should wipe that off my pants. Great way to do that. They'll go back to shredding it apart. They prefer those fresh, wet piles, and if they miss it, then it doesn't get to break down until it gets wet again. But yeah, just looking at all this green. The willows, pollards have survived, most of them. They're doing all right. There's a low area where it goes into this bog here. And some of our fresh willows, this is their second growth season, those willow pollards. And these ones were ones that were just planted this spring. And you can see that drought really kicked their butt. We lost quite a few, but they cost nothing. They're sticks pulled off of our other willow pollards. So they're zero cost to me. I'll just come back through this spring, and everywhere I notice one that didn't make it, I'll put in another. But this is normally full of water. This is a little tiny pond, normally full of water. Obviously not now, thanks to the drought. But you can still see how green all of that is. It's so hard to show in the camera. It just keeps making it look brown, but that is vibrant green. And just the tops of those seed heads are what are brown. Yeah. All right, I think you guys have probably listened to me ramble for long enough. But this is why we do what we do. This is why we rotational graze. This is why I work in the spring and fall to trap all the moisture, even though it makes my farm kind of a muddy mess. This is why we do it. All this grass is reaching down feet and feet into the ground to pull up that moisture that has been trapped there, so that we don't have mostly brown fields like a lot of the fields around us. And like I see so many folks struggling with, I know that if we didn't do this, it would be insanely hard for us to farm, and we would be feeding hay right now like so many folks are having to do. And this is years of us doing this, right? Like, it's not like, oh yeah, because we did this 1 year, our soil is so much better and holds so much more moisture. It's not. We've been rotational grazing even with the crummy electric that we had been doing for about 5 years now. Yeah, 5 years of this management to be able to help us through this drought. There was the drought in, what was that? 2019, I think, maybe 2018. That drought was so bad. Yeah, we like the 1-2 years worth of efforts in our rotational grazing and stuff. We didn't really have ruminants at the time. It wasn't doing any benefit, none at all. So this has taken years to have that benefit. And I know that every year that we continue to do this, we'll see more and more benefit. And the more of our trees that survive, the better off we'll be. They'll drop leaves, they'll pull up moisture and minerals from low down. Nothing in that nest. So yeah, this is why we do what we do. If you want to keep seeing throughout the seasons us doing this and how we've gotten our farm to be where it is, where it still has so far to go. Oh my gosh, so much more work to do. But if you want to keep following along that journey with us and seeing how we're managing it, then feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on this video if this is the kind of content that you want to see more of. I do keep track of that. I know I say that in multiple videos, but the videos with more likes, I do more content of. Some of that is just, like, what am I doing on the farm that I can get a video of? But if I notice that there's a lot of likes on videos that's just me talking and describing why we do what we do and how I do it, then I make more of those. That's why you've seen a few more of them. They're getting a lot of likes. So I know people are listening and wanting to see it. Yeah. Thank you, folks.